Nearly gave me a heart attack when you said you're doing well. It's obvious you're all I had, and then let's just be like hell. Guess I'm only thinking that you ain't move your eyes, but I never thought you'd forget me so fast.
I'm always for you.
Alo lau Māori ho eiki mo lelei e tonga solo mai volang kotoa tai talele ki mo tolu ke tau proklama koia pe mo le tia mo televisione Pasifika mo tau proklama TALANOA i ahoni fia au pita ke tai talele ki proklama ni ki mo tolu kotoa pe. Really excited to welcome you to our program TALANOA here on Pasifika TV and radio, and joined by a very special guest from Brisbane, Australia, one and only Heimana Tahiata, who is the CEO of Heilani Productions, but here to talk about a very exciting festival coming up called the OCEANIA Festival. But without any further ado, I'd love to introduce Heimana to the program. Heimana, kia orana, malolele, talofalava, welcome to the program.
Malolele, Suli, thank you for having me on the program today.
Before we talk about Oceania, though, I'd love to give you an opportunity, firstly, just to introduce yourself to our audiences. I know some of our people already know you, but we do have viewers from around Australia and around the world. Just to let us a little bit about your background and, of course, about Heilani Productions.
Yes, okay, my name, Heimana Tahiata. Born and raised in New Zealand. I am of Māori ancestry, so my mum is Ngāti Kahungunu, Te Ao Pōuri, and my dad is from French Polynesia, Tahiti. And a little bit about me, I really love the performing arts, and I was born and raised in the performing arts. My father was a dancer for the Lave, and my mum was a singer, so I pretty much carried on the legacy of my parents, and am grateful to do that here in Australia. Heilani Productions was founded about 2004, 18 years ago. Wow, that's a long time.
It's a long time. Yeah, the years have gone.
With me and my wife. And so my wife, Leilani, is from Hawaii. She's of Samoan and European ancestry. And so we're here, and yeah, we mainly started Heilani Productions as a way to preserve the culture here in Brisbane, and to also entertain and showcase our cultures to those here in Brisbane. Having come from a performing arts background and performing all around the world, there's no place like home. But I also realized that there was a need to teach the next generation. So with my children and my siblings, they didn't have the same experiences that I did with my parents. So I sort of wanted to carry that on, with the next generation, you may say.
No, that's excellent. Now, given your background, you've mentioned obviously, Māori Tahitian heritage, and of course, your wife's Samoan heritage, but from Hawaii. When Heilani trains in the different performing arts and in terms of preservation of culture, what are some of the particular cultures or I guess dance focuses that you have across the board?
We focus on. So initially we started out with hula and ori Tahiti, which is the Tahitian dance, mainly because that's from our backgrounds, where we come from. And because we realized here in Australia, there's a broad Pasifika community, Māori, Samoan, Tongan, Cook Islands. So we sort of wanted to offer something different, which reflects our heritage. And then as we did that, we attracted really students that were mixed races, and like half Australian, half Samoan. And a lot of the families the parents, they didn't have the opportunity, or they didn't have the culture around them, so they didn't have the skills to teach their children, any of the dance forms. So that's when they sent their children to us, and it sort of just grew into that. So we attract not only Pacifica children, and we mainly attract all different types, all different cultures, ethnic backgrounds.
And Heilani is unique in a sense that I know that apart from obviously training students during the week and so forth, but you also, the students perform as part of your group.
Yes.
And so they get that exposure to actually being on the stage. So it's not just learning for the sake of learning, it's learning actually to put it into practice on the stage for real audiences around Australia and globally.
Yeah, so we have this school which is run by my wife, and then we have sort of like the dance team that does events and overseas types of contracts. So we have two sort of streams of performers. Yeah.
I know in leading up to Oceania, so I'd love you to tell us a bit about Oceania. And I know that we quite often look back, well, I know for myself, quite often look at Aotearoa New Zealand as a little bit of a standard of where New Zealand's at. Obviously, it's got a very large Pacific population, Auckland being the largest Polynesian city in the world. And
Yes.
in Australia, particularly the Gold Coast, is now headed to be the second largest Pacific Island city in the world, I think by 2035.
Wow.
So increased migration coming to Australia. Tell us about Oceania and what's the heart and the vision behind that festival coming up?
Yes, so Oceania, here in Brisbane, they've had many trying to replicate the Polyfest idea, and a lot of it mainly comes down to the communities and that are present within Brisbane. I did not know that about the Gold Coast, so that's actually amazing to hear. And then from that, well, what we found, it became competition. So it became very competitive with the schools, and that's sort of where this idea was born. There's nothing wrong with competition. We love to support anything that supports the culture of the youth, but it was born mainly from it was born mainly from a vision of bringing more, instead of about the schools, because we were working with Maple Park High School already. We've done a few cultural programs. We've done many cultural programs throughout Brisbane and the Gold Coast areas. And what we found is that the kids mainly just want to perform and then showcase the culture, and it became a competition, and from there grew rivalry. So not that there's anything wrong with competition, but we sort of wanted to do something different, and instead of about competition, it was more about the culture. So this one was born from, similar to CGen idea, where they have different students from different schools participate in a showcase type of idea. So it was more like an Oceania theme, where it can be inclusive of different Pacifica cultures, as well as the First Nations people here in Australia. So that's sort of where the idea was sort of born from. And then from there it's grown. I just wanted to have the cultures well represented, so that it's authentic, and especially those people, mainstream audiences who may not have seen any Pacific types of shows, they're able to see something really beautiful and energetic and cultural. And I want them to be moved by the audience, by the performance. I want them to feel the spirit of our people, and that our art forms are worth those things. Yeah. So that's pretty much where the idea came from.
No, I love it. I think it's fantastic. What for someone coming along to Oceania Festival, what cultures are we expected to see? What showcases, and maybe what dance forms could we be expected to see on the stage?
Yes, so we have the First Nations that will be opening up, because of course we need to pay respect to the land that we live on and the peoples whose culture is here as First Nations people. From there, the story is more about how the ocean meets the land here. So it's sort of how the different currents and the different migrations of Pacifica people have landed in Australia. So that's sort of the storyline. So we're telling like the song lines of different currents and different people that have come to Australia. We've started with the four major Pacific groups that are based here in Brisbane, the Samoan communities, the Māori communities, the Tongan communities, and the Cook Island communities. I know there's many others, but it's like, where do you stop? So we focus sort of on the four major communities that are represented here, and we're going to be seeing all of those communities. So we have Mamana, they're performing, and they're incredible. And it's going to be beautiful to have the Kingdom of Tonga represented. We also have the beautiful Cook Islands, and we've tried to bring in the authentic choreographers that can work with the students from all over. So we have probably about 45 to 50 schools represented in the showcase. And yeah, we wanted to keep it authentic and really beautiful, and especially for those who've never been exposed to the culture. Some of the students don't know really how to, not that they don't know how to dance, but they may not have been taught by someone that is of that culture. They just probably watch YouTube or something like that. So we sort of wanted them to have the live experience of feeling what it's like to be actually under instruction from those instructors from the various cultures.
You mentioned representation there from 45 sort of different schools, or students from 45 different schools. What has been the reaction from the schools? And you mentioned Maple Park a little bit before. Given that this concept is relatively new here to Australia, what has been the reception from the schools to this concept?
Initially, this program was supposed to happen last year, but because of COVID, the project didn't go ahead. So we sort of carried it over to this year. The excitement has been very positive, very positive, and a lot of schools are interested, but it was mainly the coordinating of the practices and times and those types of things. So it was mainly like the scheduling that became a challenge, but we still go ahead. As they say, the show must go on, and the venue's been booked and all that type of stuff, and tickets are selling, and so we're still going ahead. We probably have a couple of hundred students in the show, so I think it's a great place to start, and then from there the program can only grow.
And in terms of the venue, I know the venue, but just for the benefit of our viewers, what location is this being held? What's the seating capacity? What are we looking at in terms of ticket costs and so forth?
Yes, so it will be held at the South Bank Piazza, and the date is Thursday, October the 6th, so next Thursday. The capacity is about 2,000 people in the auditorium, like theatre style setting. And the show starts at 7 o'clock. Tickets are selling fast, so we're grateful for that, and we're grateful for all the support of everyone that's supporting and coming and watching the young people. And I think it's going to be a great night of culture, of fun, and it's going to be colour, movement, and we've been busy sewing costumes here in our costume room, so it's been quite hectic. But it's this is what we love to do, and I'm just grateful that we have the opportunity to be able to showcase our culture here in Brisbane.
I know that you're obviously very passionate about the performing arts in the Pacific Islands. It's something you've lived and breathed not only your whole life, but also professionally as well, and in addition to starting up Heilani as well. What's the feeling you want to non-Pacific Island people who are coming in, or Pacific people who perhaps haven't had the opportunity to be linked to culture and identity? What's the feeling that when people walk out of the South Bank Piazza next Thursday night on the 6th of October, what do you want them to go home with? What's the feeling and something that you've impressed on their heart as they leave?
That's an awesome question. What I really want them to feel is I want them to have an experience, almost like a spiritual experience, but I want them to see our people in a positive light, instead of maybe the negative stereotypes that there may be around it. We come from, a line of people that have carried on these traditions, and in our own lands, we've made this country our new homeland, and we're still continuing to carry on those traditions. That's sort of the essence of what we're trying to say here. It's not just about a show. It is about representing and showcasing who we are as a people, and being proud of our traditions and upholding those and preserving them and make sure that they never die. Like I want my daughter is in the show as well. She's in the Cook Island sections, you know, and I just want her to be proud of who she is, so that she can go out into the world and she'll be able to navigate through her life, you know, the different currents and storms that may rage. And you know, it's sort of like a metaphor. What's happening on stage, the youth have undergone this sort of transformation, through rehearsing, through working hard, through team building, through making costumes, through, you know, doing all the things that we need to do to put the showcase on. But they've also learnt a lot of lessons as well. So I think not only for the youth are going to have an amazing experience, the performers, as well as the audience. And I want them to really feel of their spirit and their love of their culture, and instill the sense of pride. So yeah, that's what I want the people to go away with, especially non-Pacifica people, to feel of our spirits and to feel something positive.
Certainly, I can imagine behind the scenes that there's lots of challenges. And when I'm hearing what you've been sharing today, we've got obviously bringing youth together, working with children of different ages. I mean, that's got its own set of challenges. And also, I know that we often, you know, work in our own community, so Tongan community, Samoa, but you're bringing all these communities together. So again, everyone does things a little bit differently. Then we're dealing with schools. So there's multiple layers here of bringing things together. The idea is fantastic, but what are some of the challenges you've come up with during this journey of getting Oceania Festival up and running?
Well, this is the Oceania is pretty much like the culmination of the years of hard work of the different communities sort of coming together. You know, I did not do this on my own. It is a team effort, you know, and I definitely pay tribute to my parents, my father who came here as an immigrant, and my mum who came here as well and built their communities, and I'm sort of just carrying on that legacy, I feel, and the same, and bringing it together. You know, it may sound not cliche, but like harmony. It's better for us to be united than divided, because we are a minority type of community here in Brisbane. And so all these choreographers, I actually know them, you know, they're our good friends that we work with and that we perform with. They have their own schools, and you know, and we sort of wanted to bring us together to create something different that hasn't been seen before. Like you said, we can do our own separate things, and I didn't want it to be I didn't want it to just be like a multicultural festival type of performance. I wanted to be sort of artistic and, you know, something where people can feel something and learn something and enjoy something. And that's what I think Oceania can do. So we have Tonga, Mamana. For Samoa, we have Celia from Tilomai, and she is our Samoan tutor. And then Cook Islands is Heilani Productions is taking that. And then the Māori section is Ngā Manu Pūtohe. So that's Te Wai and her team, and they're incredible. So all of these choreographers, oh, I can't forget our First Nations choreographer, Auntie Jeanette Fapila. So she's ex-Bangara, Akpa, and so, wow. And the thing that I've learned about the Indigenous is, which I think is really great, is we've learnt about their protocols in terms of sharing their stories and sharing their song lines. And you really have to come from those areas to be able to share those songs and to be able to teach those songs, which I found very, very interesting. You know, there's logistical challenges. That's been the main thing, because a lot of people have, what is this thing? You know, what is Oceania? What is this? What are you doing? And, you know, it's funny because, you know, everybody goes for the rugby, which is cool for the boys, and, you know, and it's mainly the challenge is there's not that many boys, but it's okay. I says the ones that we have is strong. We have like 1,000 girls and then a couple hundred boys, you know, it's something like that. But that's always the case with most dance schools anyway. In our case as well, we have smaller amounts of boys and then larger amounts of girls, but I think it's growing, and I think it's a wonderful start, and from there we can only move forwards and, you know, grow bigger and better.
It's interesting that you mentioned there about the boys and the rugby, because obviously, you know, rugby is a team sport. Rugby is a way to let off steam and so forth. But when I've watched your shows, there's a lot of letting off steam there as well, because especially the Cook Island performances are very high pumped. And there is also a social part of it in terms of the group. So,
Yeah.
I mean, there is an upsell in that regard, you know, to encourage our young boys out there, if they want to get involved, that it's still very similar in some ways. In fact, you get the team aspect as well as you'd also get the physical aspect. Did you want to share a little bit about the physical aspect? Because your performers look very fit.
Yes,
I would struggle.
you know, that's I think people once they sort of come to our classes, they realize how intense it is, and they don't. A lot of people assume that you just rock up and dance, you know, but they don't realize the effort that is required, and it's like going to the gym. You know, you need to put in effort to be able to get the results, and the same thing is with anything that you do in life. You know, performing arts is no different. You know, but the difference is we have to practice and practice and practice and practice, do all 95% of the work behind the scenes, and then it's just the few minutes that we perform on stage, but it's taken some months to create that 10 minutes program, and it's a different way of thinking. If you're not used to that way of training, a lot of young people come in, they just want to, you know, they just want to have fun, which is cool, but there's no sort of discipline. So that's what I sort of notice here, what I found with, you know, young people. And because we're not a mainstream art form, they don't realize that, you know, we work different parts of our body, and it can be quite physical, you know. So once they understand that and they want to stick with it, then they're great. You know, it's mainly about making a commitment to, you know, to the art form and to the dance form. And so yeah, the team that we us are all committed. They all come from all different Pasifika backgrounds, and they really are inspired about preserving the culture and, you know, holding on to something. So when they go back to their homelands, they can stand proud and know who they are and where they come from. Even though we may come from Australia, you know, it doesn't matter. You still have that bloodline, and you still are from that culture, wherever that may be.
In terms of age groups, is there a limit? Like, what's the youngest performer that's coming on Oceania, and what are and then moving up? Is it sort of, is it only high schools, or is it primary schools? Where do
Yeah,
our
at
age
the
brackets
moment it
sit?
was. At the moment, we mainly focused on high school, because there was already a base level of learning. We do have a couple of primary school students, but those are ones that have already, for example, they may already be Cook Island and they have experience in dancing. So initially, it was mainly gathering people that had a certain level of skills in their culture, culture specific. And yeah, that's pretty much the idea of the casting and auditioning process. It can be intimidating, especially for Pacifica people who may not be used to that process of auditioning and not being rejected, or, you know, that type of thing. They get very shy about that. So this one is initially just, we're just, everybody's in there. So if you've come to the practices and you've rehearsed, and, you know, you're not going to get kicked out or anything like that. So that's the yeah. We've just made it fun, but, you know, we have made them realize how intense the rehearsals are. It's not, you know, we're not playing. We're coming here to dance, to perform, and to represent. So better
And it's
step up.
really significant having our Indigenous performances, because I believe here in Australia right now, historically, we're on the cusp of a very important referendum that will be coming up. The Prime Minister's announced in 2023, 2024, in that financial year, and that's for Indigenous people to have a voice to Parliament. And one of the concerns that's being raised is that there's perhaps in some parts of our community and society a lack of awareness or a lack of understanding of Indigenous culture. And although over time we see an acknowledgement or welcome to country at various, that's usually in the form of an oratory spoken introduction, but you're bringing a performance to the stage of Indigenous culture. And I think it's just come at such an important time in our history to have that showcase. Not only is it culturally appropriate and so forth, but tell us a bit about the significance of that, because that's really interesting, bringing, well, essentially a Melanesian culture of Australia together with all that Melanesian, Micronesian, Polynesian cultures. This is really exciting.
Yes, it's, well, having working in the schools and working with the Indigenous, I've realized there's a lot of it has to do with their protocols, and it's about where you come from. And because we're going to be performing on Meanjin land, Brisbane land at the Piazza, those ancestors have to be able to open it. So it's more like that. We can't just have someone from Logan, Jagara Yugambe perform. It's like that type of stuff. So it's like tribal, you may say, or yeah. So that's what I've sort of learnt in this process. Even though we are Pasifika, we are still the visitors of the lands, the birds that come in and land on this, but we need to understand and respect how things work in this country. And that's what I've come to learn, different uncles and elders opening. So there'll be a smoking ceremony. And then we move into sort of contemporary Indigenous, which can incorporate the different tribes where all these young people come from. So it will be full Indigenous representation. And a lot what I found out is that they don't really have an opportunity, Indigenous First Nations people, their youth don't have an opportunity to perform or showcase except for NAIDOC week and things like that. But throughout the year, they don't really have things like Polyfest and Multicultural comps and all those types of things where they're represented. So of course we thought it was fitting that this is their land. They need to tell their stories, and it's going to be how we're all the currents. So the idea for Oceania came from like the saltwater people and meeting us, and we are saltwater people, as Pacifica people. We may have arrived here on planes and things like that, but our people are a voyaging, navigating people, and how we sort of link in currents to here to Australia. So we're sort of telling that story visually through the story. So we have a storyline, a song line, but starting from an Indigenous perspective, because I feel that is very important to tell their stories and to share our stories as well, so we can strengthen and empower each other and have a sense of pride. So so instead of maybe being ashamed of our cultures or ashamed of who we are, we can have a sense of pride to know this is who we are, and this is where we come from, and this is our people, and something positive.
And I can imagine and appreciate that in training and practicing for Oceania, that it's given the students and perhaps their parents as well a deeper appreciation of language, of history, the origins perhaps of some of the dances. They may have seen them before, but not really understand what the background is of them. Have you noticed that with the parents and with the students? What's that journey been like?
Well, we've seen many different multiculturals, and I'm not speaking, but sometimes young people, they just like to copy off YouTube or something like that. And if they don't speak the language, they may not know what the story is about. So that has been one thing that we've tried to, it's not just a show. It is a show, but it's not just about the end result. It's sort of like the journey that we've taken. So there is language, and all of our instructors speak the language of their culture that they're representing. So it's an authentic thing. They're learning names for movements, like the different steps, the different hand motions. They're learning the different expressions, how you express yourself, how, and the presentation. So for example, in Tahiti, the Cook Islands, for the women, it's about the hair and, not straightening it, not dyeing it blonde, all those types of images, because they feel they have to conform to the mainstream here, which is not what we look like. You know what I'm saying? So it's mainly about being proud of who you are and representing your culture. And, so for in Tahiti, the body is viewed as their costume as well. So it's about your skin, getting a tan, working on your hair, don't chop your hair, those types of things. It's about the physical attributes of a dancer. And in Tongan, it's about the grace of the women and those types of things. These are the things that we're trying to instill in them, that you can only learn through dance and being there physically. You can't learn this off a YouTube video, you know. And that's what I think the difference is, because, and I don't, you know, it's hard for the young people, because if they're not exposed to it, or they don't have the instructors to learn from, of course they're just going to go on YouTube and just say, oh yeah, let's learn this, let's copy this, and shake my butt type of thing, but they don't know what they're talking about, you know. So that's that process has been a learning process. So we do have a long-term relationship with Mabel, where we will sort of be based there. They have a new $26 million building, and is an creative arts building, as well as the STEM program. So that's going to be our base, where we can continue to create art and dance and performing arts and those types of things. So we're just grateful to just be a part of that that opportunity there.
So now, for anyone who's viewing who'd like to come along, where can you get tickets from? Where can you find out more information? What are the contact details? Share us some of those details.
Yes, so everything is online. So we have an Oceania Facebook page, Oceania Instagram page, and I can send you those details as well. And our event is on Try Booking, and we mainly have two prices. Student prices are $15, and groups of 4 or more are $15 per person, and then adults is $20. So we've just tried to keep it affordable and not too many prices.
That's fantastic. Is there anything extra additional we haven't covered that you want to share with people who are thinking of coming, already booked a ticket maybe to come along to Oceania next Thursday?
We just want to say thank you for those that have supported, and we just like to invite all those to come and attend and watch something amazing at South Bank. And I know you guys will have a lot of fun, and hope you enjoy the show. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much from Oceania, and thank you so much for having us here today. And we'd love to invite you as well, Suli, if you're not busy, to come and attend to watch the show and hopefully enjoy the show.
Oh, absolutely. And just in addition, just one more thing I want to ask is if anyone wants to get involved with Heilani Polynesian School of Arts, to be involved maybe for the next Oceania, obviously too late for this year, but for next year or for other performances throughout the year, how can they get involved? Where can they meet, for practices and so on?
So pretty much all of our details are online. Heilani.com is our website, and we have representation on platforms: Instagram, Heilani Productions, on Facebook, Heilani Productions. So pretty much just go online, and all of our details and information can be found on our website and on our socials.
That's fantastic. Look, Heimana, on behalf of Pasifika TV and Radio, just want to firstly congratulate the great work that you've done for so long, but also culminating in Oceania Festival next Thursday, which we're so looking forward to. But not only that, thank you for bringing our cultures together. Unity is so important. Like you've said, united we stand, but divided we fall. We don't want to be divided. We don't want to fall. We want to be united. Amen. So bringing everyone together is so important, and also that journey with our Indigenous people. And thank you for taking our second and third and fourth generation Australians of Pacific descent and others who are curious and friends of the Pacific who want to learn. The great work that you're doing, it doesn't go, it's noted, it's recognized, and Heilani has such a strong reputation and credibility in the community. Like you've said, been around for quite a while, 2004. It's a long time, and you've done a great work. So we really, really want to congratulate you all and encourage all our viewers who are tuning in, please go online, make sure you get yourself a ticket and be there next Thursday for something that's going to be very, very special. And that's right, we want to be there to feel those currents of the Pacific as they crash onto the Brisbane shores next Thursday, the 6th of October, down there at the South Bank Piazza.
You're incredible.
Hey?
You're incredible. You should be our MC.
Part of the wave.
Yeah,
Goya, thank you so much. Malo obito kaingatonga, malo tomo me mai ki tau polokalama talanoa koe ahoni pe mo Heimana Tahiata, koe pulelahi fokia o e kautaha Heilani, me te teo koia ki tātoanga pe ko festival fokia o OCEANIA, pe ko OCEANIA, I he tupurilulo kolono koe o topa o wike kaha o. Malo obito mo mea mai, ka mo mea, tua o whātou.
Ho eke mo kai ngā tonga ko I loi peo ki ai ni ihia mo tolo o ku tae lata mo tae ori ia ko hui mapune kau a whafonua koe o tonga o ke lava hafoki ki hatau ki otu whanua. Ka niongo ia ko hanga pe e he Pasifika TV and Radio o se lova e palaponema. Ake e polokalama, Friday Night Live. Whakawhi ata ki mo mea mai kai ho whalait katoa pe taimi walu e whiaf ki taimi tahataha po uri taimi koe o Australia hahake. Ki he ngahi whaka eke eke, ngahi requesti, ngahi pare toto atu uma afo ngai whasi maari e koe o puonga. Mo mea mai ki ai, kau mai ki tau kau mai ki ai, po whalai te koe ni, Friday Night Live from Pasifika TV and Radio.
We have all missed visiting our loved ones back home. So Digicel International are giving you the chance to win one of 6 return trips to the Pacific, a total prize pool of $15,000. Each trip gives you and a loved one one chance to visit your family in the Pacific. Simply send $30 or more Digicel top up through our Digicel International app or website or participating retail outlets. Or send money transfers with ClickX or Digicel International for your chance to win. Terms and conditions apply. Promo is valid until end of October